All right, so this is going to be MAC 2233, and this is going to be sections 1.1 and 1.2. I'm just going to go through each of the ones, kind of work on them. I want to make sure that I do the correct thing, so kind of bear with me here for a second. I'm going to go back to the page for 1.1 so I can make sure that I am doing the right steps for these questions real quick. So many pages here. All right, so for 1.1, number 1, we're just going to find the slope of the line. But before I do that, I'm going to write a few things here. And I want you to realize that the slope normally will give them to you as y1 minus y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's also what we know as delta y over delta x, so the change in y over the change in x. And this is really a rate of change. So it tells you how rapidly the function is either increasing or decreasing. So you're going to see that the symbol, especially the one with the delta y and delta x, just remember that's just a change, right? The difference in y over the difference in x. So having said that, let's go ahead and do the first one. So one of the things that you could do is just label them. And then we know, so it's going to be 2 minus 5 over negative 1 minus 4, which is going to be negative 3 over negative 5, which is going to be 3/5, right? So the slope for the first line is 3/5. So let's go ahead and do number 3. And number 3 is going to do the same thing, right? We're just going to go ahead and find the slope. Again, I'm going to label them y1, x1, y2, x2, y2. So before I do that, so if x1 is equal to x2, then the slope is undefined. And it's undefined because if I'm doing, it doesn't matter, x1 minus x2, that's going to be, it's going to force me to divide by 0. So one of the things is, if you look at these and you come across one that has x1 is equal to x2, then the slope is just undefined. And it's really not much work that you have to do there. So for number 5, again, we're going to find the slope. Y is equal to x. And so y is equal to x just means that the slope for this particular one is equal to 1. And so you have to remember that if it's in slope intercept form, y is equal to mx plus b. If b is equal to 0 and m is equal to 1, then what you get is this function right here. So just remember that. Also, this is a horizontal line. So if we were to graph it in the x and y plane, I'm going to use a different color, it will just be a horizontal line. This one is x is equal to 5. This is a vertical line. Sorry, this is not a vertical line. This is actually this actually goes through the origin. Sorry about that. So this is a vertical line. A vertical line means that m is undefined. And the reason is undefined is because no matter what happens, your x will never change. Right? In this case, it's going to be 5. So you can see x is equal to 5. No matter what your y values are, your x is never going to be changed. In other words, the x1 is equal to x2 always. For number 11, this is a horizontal line. And so this is m is equal to 0. And so if I were to graph this one, it'll just be a horizontal line. So just remember, when you have this, that means that y2 is equal to y1. And over here, it just means that x1 is equal to x2. All right, number 15, it says find the equation of slope-intercept form. And so here, if I have my x and my y, normally they will have you use the point slope form, which is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. But honestly, you can also use the y is equal to mx plus b. So I'm gonna do both, and so you're going to see how this works. So this is gonna be y minus 3 is equal to negative 2x minus 1. And so I just go ahead and do distributive property. I'm gonna add the 3 to both sides, and I get y is equal to 2x plus 5. So that's one way if you use the point slope. If you use the slope-intercept form, I can just plug in my values. 3 is equal to negative 2 times 1 plus b. Negative 2 plus b. I'm going to add the 2 to both sides, and then I have my equation, which is negative 2x plus 5, which is the same thing I got before. So there's two ways that you can do that. Here for number 19, it's multiple steps. First thing we have to do is find the slope. x1, y1, x2, y2. So it's 3 minus 2, 1 minus 4, so that's 1 over, so that's my slope for that one. I'm just going to go ahead and use the 2, 4. So it's going to be 2 is equal to negative 1/3 times 4 plus b, which is negative 4 over 3 plus b. Now 2 is the same thing as 6 over 3, right? And that's what I needed. So plus, right? And so because if I add the 4/3, so I get 10 over 3 is equal to b. And so y is equal to negative 1/3 x plus 10 over 3. So again, my slope is negative 1/3. I used my 4 and my 2, and then I got 10 over 3. So for number 25, what they're asking us to do is to find the equation in the form of ax plus by is equal to c. Now they're telling us that the x-intercept is negative 6. So that's my first point, negative 6, 0. The other point is 0, negative 3. Now, what I have to do here now is I'm just going to go ahead and find my slope. So it's going to be negative 3 minus 0 over 0 plus 6. It's plus 6 because it's a negative over a negative, right? So that's negative 3 over 6, which is negative 1/2. That's my slope. And I'm going to use this one here. And so since you got to remember 0b is my y-intercept. So then if I were to do this, I'm going to show you negative 1/2 times 0 plus b. It just tells me that my b is negative 3. So if you have the y-intercept and you get the slope, you already have your formula. Now, it has to be in the form of ax plus by, so I'm going to move the 1/2 x to the other side. Then I'm going to multiply everything by negative 2. And if I do that, I'll get x minus 2y is equal to 6, and that is the equation. So both of these equations are equivalent. But this is the way that they want you to put your answer. Now let's look at number 29, and it's just asking the same thing that's parallel to 3x plus 2y is equal to 13. So let me show you something. If your equation is in the form of ax plus by is equal to c, the slope is actually equal to negative a over b. And it doesn't matter if they write it in caps, which is capital letters, which is usually what they do. It's still going to be negative a over b. So if you identify what a is, in this case a is 3, b is equal to 2, then your slope becomes negative 3 over 2. And that's probably the quickest way. Now, if you would have solved for y, which is what normally you guys would do, so it's going to be 2y is equal to negative 3x plus 13. Then you divide everything by 2, you get the same thing that I got, right? Which is negative 3 over 2. So it's parallel, so we're going to use this information. This is my x, this is my y. So it's going to be 6 is equal to negative 3 over 2 times negative 4 plus b, which is 12 over 2, sorry, plus b is equal to 6. I'm going to subtract 6, b is equal to 0, so I get y is equal to negative 3 over 2x plus 0. So, sorry, let me go jump to the next one. So this is perpendicular. Again, I'm going to find the slope. So a is 1, b is 1, so it's going to be negative 1 over 1, which is just negative 1. So I'm going to do negative 4 is equal to negative 1 times 3 plus b. I'm going to add that, so I get negative 1. So I get y is equal to negative x minus 1. And if I move the x to the other side, I get x plus y is equal to negative 1, and that will be your final answer. All right, so let's look at 61 and 62, because this is what you're going to see on the midterm and the final. So I'm going to go through both of these so we can see those. And let me just make sure that I got here. All right. So number 61 is saying the following. It says the sales of a small company with 27,000 is second year of operation, 63,000 is fifth year. So the first thing that I know is it's also saying is let y represent the sales and x is the year of operation. So this is going to be 27,000. The next one is going to be 5 and 63,000. So those are your two ordered pairs. And then it says find the slope of the line given equation. So this is going to be my x1, y1, x2, y2. So my slope is going to be 63,000 minus 27,000 over 5 minus 2. So now that we have those values, we can go ahead and find the answer, which is 36,000. I don't know why I put a parenthesis there. Over 3, which is 12,000. So the slope is 12,000. So this is part A for 61. And so now the equation becomes the following. So this is going to be still going to be point A. So this is going to be 27,000 is equal to 12,000 times 2 plus b. So 27,000 is equal to 24,000 plus b, which will leave me with 3,000 is equal to b. So the equation becomes y is equal to 12,000x plus 3,000. So that's part A. Part B, I might have to move 1.2 down. So part B is asking you use your answer for part A to find how many years must pass before sales surpass 100,000. So remember, x is years, so it's going to be 100,000 is equal to 12,000x plus 3,000. So we can subtract the 3,000, we get 97,000. And then of course we're going to divide the 97,000 by the 12,000, and we get that x is approximately 8.08. So it's going to take a little bit over 8 years. Now we can go ahead and find out what the 0.08 is, which is about a month. So it's going to be 8 years and 1 month. Now, when you write this, you could have left it this way. You could have said about 8.08 years. All right, I'm gonna have to rewrite these to do 1.2. Let me finish 1.1, and then I'll upload that one. Make sure I have enough space here. All right, so let's look at the next part of this, which I believe is 6.2. So 6.2, this is what I'm going to do for 6.2. I'm going to, 62, as extra credit. And then I will set up a Dropbox so you guys can put the extra credit. And then I'm going to just go ahead and create another sheet for 1.2. All right, thank you.